What is going on YouTube? It's your boy Nevin the Barber, and in today's YouTube tutorial we're going to be going over a low drop fade. My client did want to cut off his mullet today, so first things first, I went ahead and started off with my sideboard trimmers to carve in my first bald line, and I'm going to make sure to drop this right after my client's earlobe, straight beneath his occipital bone. And I'm going to do this just so the fade has enough contrast on the back of his head shape. And after I got that first guideline set in with the trimmers, I'm going to go ahead and follow that guideline with no guard, lever all the way open. And I'm going to go up about another ½ inch right above this guideline. And following that guideline, I went ahead and put on the 1.5 guard all the way closed. And again, I took this guideline up about another ½ inch, and I'm going to get straight into clipper over comb. This is going to be the highest guard that I use in today's cut. Everything above the 1.5 will just be clipper over comb up into the parietal ridge and the crown area. And I really like doing this system right here because you save a lot of time skipping between the number 4 guard, the 3 guard, and the 2 guard, and you can get a really nice clean transition into the bulk. So now to erase that middle guideline, I'm going to use the ½ guard all the way open. And I'm just going to begin flicking out with a nice consistent cutting stroke. And I'm going to begin closing that lever 1 notch at a time. And every time I close the lever, I'm just going to shorten my cutting stroke a tad bit, just because the hair is going to be getting cut down to a little bit more of a shorter length. And little by little, you guys can see how that middle guideline is starting to fade into the 1.5 guard length. And I really like blending down after I set my guidelines in, just because when you guys are going up and putting in your guidelines, you're creating a foundation on your client's scalp. And that way, after you have the foundation, you can just come back down and erase each guideline. And that's the thing about barbering too, that a lot of beginner barbers don't understand. There really isn't no right or wrong way to cut hair. You really just have to find a system that works for you at the end of the day. My fading system may not work for you guys, and maybe your fading system may not work for somebody else. So always keep that in mind whenever you guys, are cutting hair and trying to find a fading system that works for you. And now I have the lever all the way closed, and I'm just flicking out that last dark guideline that I see right in the middle of the 0.5 and the 1.5. And I'm just using the corner of my blade when erasing this guideline. I'm not applying that much pressure. I'm just going with a light cutting stroke when doing this. And I do appreciate all of my subscribers, so thank you guys for always tuning into my videos. If there is any specific haircut tutorials you guys want to see, feel free to drop them in the comments and I will get them out for you guys. And now you guys can see that guideline is almost completely blended out. And now we just have to worry about erasing that first initial guideline we created with our trimmers. But just be patient with it. Some of your clients' hair texture may be thicker than others. I personally think that straight hair is the hardest hair to cut, just because it kind of protrudes right out of the scalp. And before I erase that last guideline, I'm going to go ahead and clean up my client's C-cups. And when doing this, I'm going to make sure to keep it as natural as I can, ensuring that I don't push his hairline back. And always remember, the more natural you guys keep the hairline, the longer the haircut will last. Just because when the hair starts growing in, you're going to start to notice it within a few days. So just keep that in mind. Always try to keep the C-cups as natural as you guys can whenever cutting hair. And for the final step in the fade, no guard, lever all the way closed. So I'm now cutting the hair down to a 00 length. And yes, I do have these clippers right here 0 gapped, which makes this part of the cut that much easier, just because you can effortlessly flick that skin line into the ½ guard length. And I'm just gradually opening my lever on the clipper as needed, just to clean out any last dark areas that I see at the start of the fade. And this is really where you guys want to put in the most detail work of your cut. That way you can get a nice, clean, blurry transition. And you always want to try to blend that skin guideline into the hair without no guidelines as possible. And little by little, you guys can see that guideline starting to fade away. And like I said, this is really a good, effective system to use right here on basically any hair texture. I really like this fading system because I can achieve it on any haircut with basically any hair texture, like I said. So if you guys haven't tried this fading system, feel free to give it a shot and let me know what you think of it in the comments. And now just removing all of the bulk. This is personally my favorite part of the haircut right here, just because it's so satisfying and you can just see the fade come together as you remove the rest of the bulk. And I'm just gonna follow that up using my Bronze Series 9 shaver, just ensuring that I can get that stubble cut down to the skin or as close to the skin as possible. And I'm just flicking out right at that trimmer guideline when doing this. You guys want to make sure that you don't go too high with it, just because then you're going to be, obviously balding up into the fade, which you don't want to do. And one more time, just taking my trimmers to flick out any last stubble into the fade. I always like to do this after I use the skin shaver. And now we're gonna go ahead and do the same exact steps on the other side of my client's head. So first things first, as I always start my fades, we're gonna create that first guideline with our trimmers. And we're not gonna remove the bulk yet. I always like to save that step for the end, just because you guys won't find yourself pushing up your fade. And that's another reason why I like to remove the bulk at the end of the haircut. So now that I've put my initial trimmer guideline in, I'm gonna go ahead and follow this guideline using no guard lever all the way open. And I switched to my saber clippers just because my other gammas had died on me. If you guys are wondering why I switched clippers mid-cut. Nonetheless, both of the clippers are fire, and if you guys do want to save some money on your gamma clippers, feel free to use my code NEVIN10 at the gamma checkout site. And here I'm just using my 1.5 guard with clipper over comb. And this is basically just substituting you guys going through the 3 guard and the 2 guard. A lot of people always ask me why I leave the 1.5 guard on when doing clipper over comb. One, because it'll not only prevent you from cutting into the bulk, but 2, like I said, it works as basically the 2 and number 3 guard when you're properly flicking the comb off of your client's scalp. And now I'm just erasing that middle guideline using my half guard. And I really like this new half guard right here. It's actually an exclusive half guard that comes with the new gammas that just dropped. If you guys haven't checked out the Cyborg clippers, these are the Cyborg trimmers right here. And honestly, these trimmers right here are lasers as well. So if you are looking to get your hands on a new pair of trimmers, feel free to use my code NEVIN10 whenever you guys check out on the Gamma website. You guys can see how sharp that C-cup came out, and I haven't even used the razor on it yet. And these are right out the box as well. I actually did not zero gap these trimmers, so clearly you guys can see how sharp they're cutting. And now that I have the C-cup complete, I'm gonna go ahead and remove that last guideline using no guard lever all the way closed. And this is really one of the most important parts of the fade right here as well, just because this really gives the most contrast from the skin into the stubble, and that creates that blurry effect into the fade. So just be patient whenever you guys are trying to erase this last guideline. And personally, I would use a zero gapped clipper just because you won't have to go back to your trimmers after erasing that guideline when the lever is all the way closed. So just keep that in mind whenever you guys are trying to knock out that last guideline. If you haven't zero gapped your clippers, I would highly recommend at least zero gapping one of your guys' pairs. But it's also good to have a pair of soft trimmers. Like I said, the trimmers I used in this cut are not zero gapped, and they were still able to get a nice crispy line. And some of your clients may just have sensitive skin, so it's not always the best thing to use a zero gap trimmer, depending on, like I said, if your client has sensitive skin or not. But you guys can see how the fade is coming together with these few simple steps that I've done. Like I said, it's a really effective method. If you guys have learned anything in this video so far, please be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like I said, I really do appreciate all of my subscribers. We are on the road to 250K. So again, thank you guys so much for all of you who tune in and show love to my tutorials. And you guys can see how much more blurry the fade looks after I've put that detail work in. And one more time with my trimmers, just flicking out any last dark areas I see where I initially created that guideline. And it's always good just to go back and double check your work after you guys have completed your fade. Sometimes you will notice things, after you cut their hair that you didn't notice when you were first cutting it up. And here with the Bronze Series 9 shaver, just ensuring that all the stubble's cut down to the skin. This really gives your fade that much more contrast as well. It's always important that you guys finish the fade off with the razor blade or the skin shaver. And one more time with the cyborg trimmers, just coming back up, ensuring that that skin is blended into the stubble. And it's really all of these small details that really make your fade come to life. So never be afraid to go back and double check your work, ensuring that you can get it as clean as possible. And these are my zero gapped clippers right here. I have these cutting almost all the way down to the skin. So I went ahead and came back with these just to detail the fade that much more. Not only will your client appreciate it, but it will increase your chances of retainment when you guys are getting new clients. So now that I have the fade complete, I'm gonna come back with my straight edge razor, cleaning up the C-cups. And after I put the razor on it, you guys are gonna see how much more crispier it looks. And I did not use any enhancements on this haircut. This is an all natural haircut for those that are wondering. And just to finish off this fade, I'm gonna do some shear over comb. You guys know me, I always like to do shear over comb in all of my haircuts, despite which haircut I'm doing. And I do this just because the shears give a lot more of a softer finish into the bulk of the hair as opposed to using the clippers. The shears tend to give a much more subtle effect. And like I said, it's really all the detail work that you guys put in that's gonna, ensure your clients to come back into your chair. And my client did want a short trim on top. So usually I don't show you guys how I do shear work, but I'm gonna give you guys a few gems in today's video. So first things first, I'm gonna go ahead and saturate all of my client's hair on top. I personally think it's easier to work with wet hair rather than dry hair. And and I'm just point cutting 1 inch off all around on my client's scalp. And I'm point cutting just because if I were to do a straight blunt cut, his hair would look a lot more choppy on top, which wouldn't really suit him right. So that's why I'm doing the point cutting with the shears, just so it can give his crown area more of that textured fringe look. And I'm gonna finish it off using some Faded Culture matte clay. Shout out to Faded Culture. You guys be sure to check them out if you haven't already. And if you guys want a discount on this product, you can also use my code N3V at the Faded Culture website. But that is about it for today's haircut tutorial. If you guys learned anything, please be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm out.